What's up and good morning, War Report family. It is Wednesday, March 22nd, and we are recapping Auburn's Pro Day. Cam showed up and threw to some receivers, but did he take the shine away from some of these players? Let's drop it on him.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
Good morning, War Report family. It's your boy Mike G. I'm here with my guy B. Will. We're talking Pro Day today. Let's jump right in. Auburn had their annual Pro Day. For those of you who don't know what this is a chance for former players who are going to the league in this next draft cycle or free agent cycle to get a chance to display their talents for the scouts, especially if you did not get invited to the combine. Now, big news, B. Cam Newton decided to show up to this thing. There were no quarterbacks. It should be noted there were no quarterbacks draft eligible throwing at A-Day. So it was mostly Cam Newton and Holden Gariner throwing to John Samuel Shanker, Cedric Jackson, Kalen Newton, and these guys that were out there. So I want to start with talking about what stood out to you about the Pro Day numbers, and did anybody improve their stock significantly from what you could see?
I mean, so we know that Cedric Jackson had a rough 2022 campaign. I think with the numbers that he put up, he had to have at least turned somebody's head. And I doubt he was on draft boards. His production ticked up a little bit at the end of 2021. We were kind of excited for him. 2022, it just did not happen. I mean, of course, the passing game was awful for a lot of reasons in 2022. But even early in the season when he had some opportunities to make impact, he didn't. So I have to imagine that he needed to put up the type of numbers he put up to just get on people's radar, because I doubt he was on too many scouts' radar, but hopefully he did. Hopefully, maybe he can make a practice squad, be a special teamer guy, and work his way onto some fields here at the next level. I think it's possible that he could, with just his athleticism, special teams, he could definitely be a special teams guy.
Well, let's talk about some of these drills that they do at Pro Day. For those, again, this wasn't televised, so you maybe saw some highlights. Two of the main tests are the 40-yard dash and the 225 bench test, where they put 225 pounds on the bar, and you just got to hulk it out, man. As many reps as you could do of 225. Now, I will tell you, in college, Brian and I used to go down to the AC and do this with 185. I would slay him by about 10 reps every single time.
You probably lying. I have no idea if you're telling the truth or not, because I don't remember.
So I'm going with that since you don't remember. And these guys, this is an endurance and strength test combined, is what it is. Mm-hmm. Now, there are a lot of modern day strength and conditioning coaches, Brian, that don't like the bench press because they say you don't play the game on your back. Why would you practice doing this on your back, right? However, they still use this to measure strength and endurance. John Samuel Shanker put up 27 reps.
It was impressive. I was impressed with that. Yeah.
Brandon Council, 29 reps. Super impressive for an offensive lineman. A lot of wide receivers avoid the 225 test because, again, it's that kind of strength is not super functional to what they do on the field. But Cedric Jackson did this, and he put up 13. Him and Kalen Newton put up 13 reps, which is about average. I saw a kicker do that once. So these guys went through bench press first. And then they moved on to the 40. Now, let's stick here for a second. Now, we talked about Cedric Jackson, 4.32.
Yeah.
Unofficial. And I'll tell you, watching it live, it looked impressive. He looked fast. And in our interviews with players during the Building Report series, they consistently named him as one of the fastest guys on the team.
Yeah.
I was a little shocked, but his name just kept coming up. People said, Shed is fast, Shed is fast, Shed is fast. And he showed that. Now, Ike made a point about Owen Pappo going to the combine and upping his stop by running some ridiculous 40 time. Did Shed do the same thing here? Could this 40 time have the same effect for him that it had for Owen? Given both of their tapes are a little suspect.
Yeah. I definitely think it should. Again, special teams, because you need somebody to beat the kick down the field, to get down the field as fast as possible. In special teams when the ball's being punted and kicked off and get to whoever's going to be returning that kick before they have a chance to get some moves or to find some open creases. So, yes, there is value for speed on special teams, especially when you aren't, let's say, great at running routes or you don't have the best hands. Cool. if you're physical enough and fast enough, you can make an impact. I think he may have worked his way onto somebody's special team board. But see, the thing about that is that's not necessarily a draft position. That's probably an unsigned free agency deal. That's probably an invitation to camp and a 10-day contract to see how you work out in camp. And you don't, okay, well, that's okay. So we're not 10 days. I'm thinking basketball, but you can get on the radar, in the building, on the roster. We shall see.
So it was interesting to see him do that. But let's switch gears and talk about Tank here for a second.
Yeah.
He ran an underwhelming 40 time at the combine, but came back under 4.5 this time. Did Tank maybe up his stock a little bit with an improved unofficial 40 time at Pro Day?
So it depends on who's looking at him, right? So I've seen a lot of people say, man, San Francisco would love a running back like Tank Bigsby because of a system where the coach is the OC, and he's going to make that running game out of, if he needed to make it out of paper clips and rope, he would make that running game go. But you give him a guy who can break tackles. And that's the thing about Tank's tape and the metrics. The numbers say he can break tackles. He is strong enough, physical enough, and sudden enough to make guys miss while breaking tackles. That alone, I think, probably has him on enough people's radar. If you're looking for a running back that can do a bit of everything, I think they were already kind of keen to Tank, regardless of what that 40 time was. Dropping that 40 time a little bit at Pro Day, which I think most prospects do. And let's be clear about that. The combine, they go, I think Owen Papo is just next level athletic. And we knew that about him before he got here. That's how you put up those numbers. Everybody gets a little bit better at Pro Day. Usually they're at home. They're home where they've been playing. They've got their team around them and their facility. It's more comfortable. It's more of a comfortable environment. So I expected things to improve for Tank, and they did slightly. I don't think that affects his draft stock too much because I think his tape did for him what Owen Papo's and Shedrick's could not.
Yeah, it was interesting watching Shedrick. We posted a video of his vertical. And this was amazing. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, go to our Twitter and one of our Twitters, you'll see it posted of him jumping 38.5 inches. Wow. And he almost got 40 on the last attempt, but you have to move the bar, the requisite amount for it to count. And so they were like, a lot of the players, they were like, count that counts. He touched it. But they didn't count it. The guy who runs the Pro Day was kind of a jerk. Like he was just like, no, Shedrick, that's not it, right? Yeah, I swear, that's how he sounded. But it was interesting to watch these guys go out there. You could sense a level of tension with some of the players. There was a performative aspect to what they were doing, and overall. Pro Day was an opportunity, kind of switching gears here, for Auburn to showcase their new performance center.
Yep.
New station showed up. Even though it wasn't televised, new station showed up. And if you haven't been in the performance center, it's beautiful, right? Yeah. And they don't normally let us go all the way into the indoor field. But we did get to go in this time. And, part of being in there was we got a chance to see Cam Newton.
Yep.
Cam Newton showed up. So here's what I want to talk about. And Chad, jump in the comments. We're going to address your comments here in a little bit. There is a social media narrative, and I'm saying social media narrative because I think that's all it is, that Cam took shine away from these guys at Pro Day simply by existing and showing up to throw. What are your thoughts on Cam showing up to Pro Day, and did it take attention away from guys who were trying to get seen by scouts?
I think it brought attention to guys trying to get seen by scouts. Not took it away because you were going to have to get those passes thrown at you anyway. If you said Holden Gardner was throwing them for Samuel Shanker, and yes, okay, you could get passes thrown to you by Holden Gardner, or you could get passes thrown to you by Cameron Newton. All right. Now, if I have a choice, I'm choosing to get passes thrown to me by Cameron Newton. What are you talking about? Kalen came in here. Who do I want throwing me passes? My big brother, Heisman winning national championship, NFL MVP?
Right.
Or do I want a dude? I don't know. I mean, come on. This is a win-win. You get these passes thrown at you, and there are going to be a couple of more teams here than there were going to be otherwise
Mm-hmm.
to check. I don't know if all 32 made it. I didn't check that info to see exactly how many organizations sent representation out to our pro day. But I got to imagine that one or two were like, all right, let's go see what he's got. Let's go kick the can on Cam, kick the tires on Cam and see if he's got a little something left in the tank. I don't see how this is anything but a positive. He didn't say, hey, listen, everybody put your cameras on me. Don't worry about these players. Don't worry about the players. Right. No, man, he went out there to throw. And he's the same. Cam Newton is the same guy everywhere. It's not like he was like, man, I can't wait to steal the shine from these players. Man, come on, what are you talking about?
He specifically did not take questions from the media after to make sure that no media attention went to him after pro day was over. He showed up and he throwed. I was there. A lot of the media was there. I think that the advantage was that a lot of people who may not have stuck around for the end of pro day, because you got to remember all the tests, the 40, the bench press, the vertical, all this was done before Cam was even really seen out there.
Right.
So, like, nobody didn't watch Shedrick Jackson run a 4.3 because Cam was there. Everybody saw his vertical jump, right? Everybody saw the things that these guys did. And even while Cam was throwing, Derek Hall, Derek Brown is gone. Derek Hall and Tank were on the other side of the field. And most, if not all of the scouts were over there with them. Right? The guys who actually have a chance to get drafted, go figure. Right? So, a lot of people stuck around. Cam did some amazing things. I do want to talk about him for a second. So I'm going to play a clip, B. I'm going to play a clip of Cam doing something that people, the video doesn't do it justice. I was standing next to Lance. This comes courtesy of Lance Dahl. But go check him out on Twitter. I put the link to the tweet in the chat here for you guys. But let's just take a look at a throw that Cam made during this pro day. So this is Cam. He does this thing with his brother, right? This is his brother running this route, right? Boom. He circles around. Watch this throw. Wow. So I want to watch this one more time so people get an idea of how impressive this arm strength is, right? He circles to his right. He's coming back to his left, right? Plants and then throws across his body. Bam, in stride. Incredible, B. So, Cam goes out there and shows, I can still do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can still do this. That clip is beyond viral on Twitter right now. If you're Kalen Newton, you're the guy catching that pass. And I just don't see how any of this was a bad thing. My last point about Cam is, how much do you think this helps program image to have your Heisman winner show up to campus and throw at your pro day and bring attention that, again, otherwise may not have been there? Bammers are trying to push they were trying to push a narrative all season that SUNY doesn't really love Auburn, right? All these people who are good that come to Auburn, after they're gone, they're done with Auburn. But Cam, not only is he not done with Auburn, he came back and got his degree. He seems to support these guys at every turn. I heard him calling a lot of guys by name out there. I mean, he knows these guys. He walked up to Holden Garner. Holden almost peed his pants. It was amazing to watch him interact with these current players. Do you think this helps Auburn football raise their profile some? And can it help Hugh Freeze in recruiting even?
I mean, Cam being present, when you have great players who want to be present with your program, yes, that helps your program. It absolutely does. When you have a personality as big as Cameron Newton, yes, it helps your program. Whether or not it helps with recruiting, listen, if you got some lettermen from the mid-90s who were outstanding, could they relate to some players that we're recruiting today? Maybe, maybe not. If you get Cameron Newton in here, just to be present on a whatever weekend is going to be the most effective, yes, that's effective. You know why? Right. Because he's Cam Newton, and he can still speak the language, even though in text his language is his own language. But that's another story. But as far as being able to relate to the players who are here, the players who could come here, yes, he is a benefit to the programs. I mean, I know a lot of players who are getting recruited right now don't remember Cam Newton in 2010. Because if they're getting recruited right now, they are 17, 18, and they were 4 or 5 when we won the national championship. And that, I know that's a little dang, it's jarring. It's been that long. Yes, it's been that long. But he's still Cam Newton. He still has a draw and a personality. that I think can work for the program. I like that Hugh Freeze, of course. I mean, what are you going to say? You're going to say no to Cam Newton? Yeah, you let him come back. You let him be president. And from what I've seen, Hugh Freeze has opened the door to a lot of former players and former guys who were here who have been great, who want to contribute. And my guess is Cadillac has something to do with that as well. When those guys wanted to be here for Cadillac, you saw how much it did for the program when the doors got open to say, come in, love us, support us, we need you. You keep that going, and it's a net benefit, especially with Cam Newton, because he has reached the pinnacle of football. There are a lot of guys who are great players who never win NFL MVP, man.
Or reach a Super Bowl, right?
Never reach a Super Bowl. All-time greats who never reach Super Bowls. Doing both is a phenomenal feat. Heisman win a national championship. Yes, having him associated with the program still is a positive.
Yeah, listen, it's funny. He's such a big personality, and what ended up happening was while we were out there, he got out and he was just like, man, we need some music out here. Music was on in less than 45 seconds in the whole facility. It was crazy. I was like, wow, they got that rap music on quick. You know what else he asked for that wasn't highly publicized was he asked for the website to the Rogue Shop. He said, hey, man, do you have the Rogue Shop? Because, I'm out here chilling, trying to do my best, and I can't do it without the Rogue Shop. RogueShop.com. I want to thank them for sponsoring this segment. Use code REPORT to get 15% off that next order. Sleep, pain, stress, anxiety, anything that ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something to help you along. We want to thank our guy Richard for sponsoring this segment, longtime sponsor of the War Report. You can become a sponsor of the War Report by just getting a patron membership. $5.99 will help us continue the work that we're doing here at the War Report, expanding our content, bringing you more coverage, showing up the pro days, doing all this stuff. Your monthly contribution helps us do that little by little. You can also give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button. YouTube chooses these at random for people who interact with our channel at a high level. So if you comment a lot, you click like, you're already subscribed, you're likely to be on the receiving end of one of these gifted memberships that are so generously donated by our community. So keep an eye on your email. That's a 1 month free subscription. After that, it's on you to continue the Lord's work of supporting the War Report. B, let's get to some comments here. I want to thank the chat for joining us. Let's get
to this one right here. Mike off the top rope with the transition.
Hey,
you know the best ones. I used to think the best ones were when you can relate what we just talked about to what we're about to talk about by saying, "Hey, but that's this, but that." No. The best transitions are when I think you're about to make another point about what we just talked about. When I think, you know what else Hugh Freeze said? And then, of course, and then you have to go. Hugh Freeze didn't say anything about the Rogue Shop, of course. But still, it's that I was there. I was like, oh, well, what are you about to say? And then you hit me with the Rogue Shop. That was masterful.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard sometimes before 10 a.m. to pull that together. But listen, when God is giving you a gift, you use it. Corey, whoever says, Tank would excel in Dallas coming behind Tony Pollard. Interesting. Is Ezekiel Elliott's time done in Dallas?
That boy is cooked.
Is he
Ezekiel
cooked?
Elliott is cooked, man. Like Tony Pollard would get in the game and you would just instantly see the difference, man. I think a back like Tank could make a difference anywhere. Young, hungry. Like what's the guy who he was in KC this year and he won it? Pacheco. I think he was from like Rutgers or something. Did it matter that he wasn't the best back in his conference or the country? No, it's like you just have to have these skills, man. Can he break tackles? Yes. A powerful runner? Yeah. Like Zeke is cooked. Well, they're saying he got cut. I didn't know he got cut. Yeah, that makes sense because he was cooked. You look on the field, Zeke was cooked.
And he lost me some parlays definitely last year on FanDuel. So, cook him, put Tank in there. I'll bet on him for sure. Brian Hancher says, living in Jacksonville Beach, I'm supposed to be a Jags fan. I'm not wishing that on any of our players. So Brian doesn't want anybody to go to Jacksonville, even though he lives there.
Hey, they starting to cook a little bit. Doug Peterson's a good coach, man.
Wait, they made the playoffs, did they not?
Yeah, and they had a phenomenal comeback versus the Chargers. So they won their first game in the playoffs, which is very unusual for the Jaguars. I wouldn't be mad at him going to Jacksonville. Go somewhere where there's a good coach. Shanahan. I'm not sure about Dallas's coach. Sorry, Corey, and all the rest of y'all Cowboys fans. But Peterson, Shanahan out in San Fran. If you get picked up by somewhere for some depth, like what's going on at KC, yeah, sure. I love that for Tank.
Yeah, listen, P-Pass says, does Cam go to USFL? He shouldn't need to, but Newton's bros play together. I don't think he's going to the USFL. I think he's got way too much ego for this. And I don't think if he goes there, he comes back. right? He'll be the best quarterback in the USFL. And
I don't think he does that.
I don't think any NFL team gives him a shot because he went to the USFL, right? And I think he wants to be back in the NFL, right? Like he said, listen, he said, ain't 32 better than me, right? So it is what it is. Dustin Smith, a good thing about Tank in Dallas is if he makes friends with Jerry, he could get that Zeke dollars. They have had a history of handing out money to running backs for sure. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. Corey Weber, I think the Cowboys are going to take Tank around 3 or 4. This is where I thought Tank was at the whole time. I've been on record. Mm-hmm. He'll get drafted. But, I'd be surprised if he goes before the 3rd round, right? Like if he's a top 2 pick as a running back, I just would be shocked at this. Now a lot of that's not blowing Tank. That's just about how I feel like the NFL is valuing running backs. Right. And based on his stats and measurables and things that he's put up since, I don't think he really has done much to move up into that 1 to 2 round. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the 1 to 2 round is kind of a hollow territory. Like I remember Saquon was 1st round, wasn't he? Saquon Barkley?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I just know that they gave him a deal pretty quickly.
Special. Yeah.
I mean, he is special, but he's also very injury prone. And that's what you're getting right now. What you're getting is, oh man, he's a special player. He should be a 1st round talent. Okay, he is. Now, the next step is, can he stay on the field so you can reap the benefits of him being a special talent? And a lot of times the answer is no, because running back is just such a difficult position to play and stay healthy. So what these teams are going to do is, okay, maybe they do go early for a running back, but they're not going to give you a 2nd contract.
Right.
Or they give you, or what they did was Saquon is they pretty much paid him like he's a top tier talent early, instead of doing what most NFL teams do. And all right, you play through the entirety of your 1st contract, and then we pay you based on what we saw in your 1st contract and what we think you can maintain that. Now we give you this huge, record setting or position setting contract for your 2nd contract. They paid Saquon in like year 2 or 3, and he had been hurt. It's just like, okay, you will never be as good as you are now because this is the youngest you will ever be. Let's give you this big contract now up front, and that's the money you'll have. So that way, once you get to the end of his contract, he's in like year 6. And if he's injury prone after that, you don't have any problem letting go of him. I think that's probably the best way to do it is if you find a back that's that special, get him. Even if you do grab him, 1st round, 2nd round, give him his contract early, let him play, let him give you his best years. With the situation, the Tank, I don't know if he's shown. I think it's an issue of size, probably. Size is probably an issue. Like I think Bijan Robinson is probably really, really high on people's list because he was. I don't want to say he was the offense at Texas. He was definitely a workhorse back though, and I don't think we've seen Tank be a workhorse back. Now we may be able to ask why. There were plenty of times I felt like we should just be giving the ball to Tank instead of trying to pass, whether it was with Bo or TJ Finley or Robbie. Like we should have been doing what we did the last 4 games last season for a long time.
Yeah.
And you got to wonder why we didn't do that sooner. So people have to decide what we saw from Tank Bigsby is that bell cow back type of stuff. Can he be your number 1 running back in the NFL? I don't know. They don't know. I don't think the buzz has him as that type of back. So I think 3rd or 4th round is probably safe. Now, who that is, there are a lot of people who could use a consistent running back, man, because they go down just as quickly as they pop up.
Yeah. They don't have much longevity in today's NFL. Haley Tubbs, if anything, having an NFL QB throw to them makes them look better.
I would think so too.
Yeah, just having the attention right now. Cam didn't have his best day. He did some amazing things out there, but there were some short to intermediate passes that he sailed on his brother from what we could see. Matt Reeves, Shed might get invited to camps, but his tape is underwhelming. He would have to try and make a roster playing special teams. I think a lot of people, this is a popular sentiment about Shedrick Jackson making a roster here. So hopefully he showed enough from an athleticism standpoint that if he can get on a roster somewhere and then in camp, impress with crisp route running and better hands than he has, he can hopefully work his way onto a team into a starting lineup in a couple of years. It's really hard to do in the NFL. James Barnett, why are teams afraid to give Cam a shot? This is a great question. We could spend a lot of time here, but I'll tell you, Cam has something to do with that. In my book, Cam has something to do with that, with some of the inconsistencies on the field. Injuries have made it harder for teams to want to take a chance on him, especially at the number that they're going to have to pay him, right? To come in. You know, he took a low contract to go to New England, and it didn't quite work out there. So, I mean, there's a mix of things here, but mostly I feel like it's just been reduced production based on injuries. That's making it harder for people to take a chance on him post Carolina.
Yeah, I think his last full season at Carolina was 2017, if I'm not mistaken. 2018 was the one where he had the foot injury. It was like in preseason. It's the Liz Frank injury. Basically, it's like a hairline fracture in the foot. And he sat out most of that year. He played on it a little too long. And that's the thing. He probably shouldn't have been playing on that foot, but he played through it. The next season, he comes back and he has a shoulder injury, but he tries to play through it. They have to shut him down like 2/3 of the way into the season. But the problem is he obviously couldn't put enough on his throws at that point. The idea is maybe he cooked his shoulder and now he can't consistently push the ball down the field. Like in New England, I remember the first few games, I was like, oh, that was a really good throw. But after a while, he was skipping short and intermediate passes. I'm like, well, what's going on? This is one of the strongest quarterbacks in the world. Like, I've seen him launch without moving his feet. Something happens. I mean, with superior athletes, this happens to almost all of them. You rely on athleticism to do a lot of things that other people can't do. If it's not a bunch of fundamentals and natural skill, it's athleticism. But you can do it, and he could do it. He did so much in the NFL just off of that athleticism, the power he could push the ball down the field with. But once something happened in that throwing shoulder, he hasn't had that pure power there anymore, and it's created just this weird result when he throws. Sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's weird that the ball didn't get where it was supposed to be. You have no idea why. And so what you're asking is, all right, well, Cam, what am I going to get with you? Can you tell me what can I reasonably expect when you drop back to pass? Are you going to be able to get the ball there? For all of his faults and what he couldn't do, you think about a Tom Brady, his athleticism the last couple of years, he was done, but he could get the ball there. Like, if there was a play there, I'm going to get the ball there much more often than I'm not. You're going to stay on schedule. When you're talking about skipping passes, sailing passes in the NFL, it's 2nd and 8, and we just need you to complete this 5-yard out so we can be 3rd and 3, but you can't do it. Now we're 3rd and 8, and we're behind schedule, and we NFL teams are going to put up with that, man. So, yeah, I don't know what happened with his shoulder. Maybe it's done. He didn't play last year. Maybe something got treated, got fixed. I hope he can be consistent. I hope he gets a shot. I don't think it'll be more than backup role, though.
Yeah, listen, I mean, of all the things that he needs to do, beside, developing consistency in his game, he needs to be visiting the Rogue Shop to help him with that, right? Because they got stuff for QB play as well, too. I heard, right? Rogueshop.com. Use code reporter, get 15% off. This segment is brought to you by them, longtime sponsors of the War Report. One thing I got, Richard, for sponsoring this segment. We're at you guys 4 days a week on the Rogue Shop. We take Thursdays off, but we're back at you Friday with all this content. You can become a sponsor of the War Report like Richard, but just on another level by becoming a patron member. $5.99 a month will get you there. This will help support the work that we're doing. Pro days, man, spring practices, press conferences. We're there for you guys. You can be there for us by signing up for one of these patron memberships. And we got some pretty cool patron exclusive content that Ike is putting out there for you guys in the form of film reviews. So you don't want to miss that. Become a patron member. Give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button. YouTube chooses these at random to anybody who interacts with our channel at a high level but has not made the decision to become a member just yet. So help grow our community by giving the gift of the War Report. It's on you after the first month is up. But you definitely don't want to miss being part of the Green Aim Gang and becoming a War Report patron by receiving one of these memberships. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. We'll be back at you guys Friday to talk a little bit about spring practice. Auburn is getting deep into camp now. Fall battles are starting to shape up in the spring. So we'll be back to talk about that. Until then, always remember, drop it on them.